Shows family is Nomsa here at Gossip Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, I have Amanda Murray, Grant. Grant, what's your surname? Morel and Nick Motichka. So we have a full house today. Grant is dumped us for a few weeks, traveling, seeing the world, working hard. Hi, Grant.
Hello, folks. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. It's great to be back.
Hi,
Said,
hi, Nick and Amanda. So, how is your traveling been, Grant?
it was busy. It was good. It was busy. I've been to a few different countries. I've been to the US twice, and I've been to Italy, and I've come back, and I've been hosting a 2-day workshop, chaired an AGM meeting. And just busy. It's actually quite nice to be back and catching up, and certainly great to be on the show and see everybody here again. So yeah, great to be back. Great to be back.
We're happy you are here. We missed you so much. Nick went away as well. He was away, but with Nick, he was away for 1 week. So we got to hear what he was getting up to. So next week, we would love to hear what you've been getting up to being away. So please find us a topic where we can talk about you working, traveling abroad, please. So we leave the topic to you. So the topic today, Nick, you chose this topic is your energy and how you show up matters. Could you please explain to our audience why you picked this topic? Because you picked the topic very, very quickly. I asked for a topic within like few seconds. The topic was with me. So must be something special about this topic.
Yeah, that is unusual for me, isn't it? So it definitely resonated with me. So, and the reason is, for me, this is something I've actually fairly recently discovered the importance of and the benefits of controlling my own energy and showing up in just the best possible way. And the way that the world then shows up for me is mirrored back to me, and it's been incredible. So I'll tell you a story of where I basically discovered this. So earlier this year, I was resigning from my career in policing of 17 years. And so on a day shortly before the day of my actual resignation, I had to do a bunch of meetings, had to go to police headquarters and turn in my badge and return a bunch of uniform items and go through this kind of administrative process to close that chapter of my life. And so that morning, so we weren't living in that same city or town anymore. So I stayed at my brother's house the night before and woke up in the morning, and my mom and I were actually kind of in a bit of a disagreement, let's say. And so that morning I had to go to my parents' house to pick up a bunch of the things that I needed to return to the police service. So it was kind of a forced, like I had to actually deal with my conflict I was having because just the way the situation was. So woke up that morning and I don't remember consciously making the decision, but I just decided to just show up and just be authentically myself, be vulnerable, and just be in a good place. Because what was not being in a good place going to gain me, or what was the advantage of it? And the answer is absolutely nothing. In fact, quite the opposite. It would only hurt me. So I went to my mother's house and just showed up with that energy, and that being that authentic and vulnerable and just being honest and just being myself. And we ended up having a great conversation, the best that I can think of in quite a while up to that point. And from that moment on, I just kept that train going during the day. So I actually had a meeting with my manufacturer for my clothing business as well that morning before I went to police headquarters, and went to my meeting and again showed up in that way and had a great conversation, solved some things, figured some things out, really realized that I was in alignment with this manufacturer. Everything went really well. Went on to police headquarters for this meeting. And what would have, I guess, historically or in other people's cases, probably been a pretty dark day, you know, turning in the badge that you'd worked so hard for and all the uniform stuff that symbolically means so much to in that world. I just showed up probably in a very unusual way for that meeting. And so I was dealing with a lady in HR, and she's a sergeant, so she's a sworn member of the police service. And so I was in her office, and just again showing up in that way, just being myself and high vibing and just authentic. And at one point she made a comment. She's like, I don't want you to go. I just want you to stay here all day. I just want to be in your energy. And so I went, and she made arrangements for me to meet with a bunch of people that I'd worked with. And it ended up being, a really pleasant experience. And so I got home later that night, and I kind of reflected on the day I'd had. And it was the first time that I can think of in my life where I consciously realized that, wait a second, okay, so I went to 3 different actual, I guess, meetings with different people, and they all went the same way. They all were really, really enriching, good conversation, high energy, high vibration, just really pleasant experience. And I thought and realized that, wait a second, I'm the common denominator in all 3 of those meetings. And I am the one that chose how I was going to show up that day. And then that got mirrored back to me. So, and since then I've experimented with this and had the exact same results every time I've done this. And so it's something that I'm going to continue to do because it gives me amazing results. So that's why I'm kind of passionate about this topic. And but I'm very interested to hear your guys' take on it.
Well, Nick, I think you're onto something there. I think you really are. I think you've given a brilliant example of a pivotal time in your life, when it could have been challenging, but you made a decision. That's what that sort of stands out for me. You made a decision to be authentic and vulnerable and just to be yourself, and how it works. And it does. And I remember a time 4 years ago. 4 years ago was a magical year for me. It was, they say everything you touch turns to gold. My year was like that. I remember it was something I just did differently. I just let go. Just let go. I was joyous about everything. And I know exactly what you're saying. Everything I could not put a foot wrong. Everywhere I went, I was magical. And people say doors opened up. They just did. And it was just down to that. It was as simple as that. The trick is learning how to be that all the time. And I think, have I managed to do that all the time since? No, is the honest answer. Can I tap into it when I'm consciously aware to tap into it? Yes. So I'm really glad you brought this subject up today, because you certainly can do it if you remind yourself. So there's something about awareness there, being aware to give yourself permission, which is what we talk about in behavior profiling, giving yourself permission to just be. And when you do, it can be one of the most simplest and most powerful routes to success that I personally have ever stumbled upon. And I'm so, because I'd forgotten about it. It wasn't consciously in my mind until we spoke about the subject. So I'm really pleased it had, because on a personal note, it serves as a timely reminder. But you're absolutely onto something there. That's what I wanted to say. Amanda, what about you?
Well, because I'm a teacher, I always bring this back to the classroom, and I think about like how the kids show up each day, and how they show up really depends on their energy, right? And things that have happened at home the night before or that morning. And so often if somebody's in a bad mood, it has nothing to do with something that happened at school. It's something to do with something that happened at home or on their walk to school, like fighting with their sibling or whatever. And so I always try to make the classroom this like safe space for kids to show up. And if they need just some time away, to like recognize that they just need like some space, because we don't know how somebody's morning has gone or what's been going on. So I always try to teach kids to like take a step back and realize that someone's reaction to you may have nothing to do with you. And so I think about like when somebody comes into the school and if they like shove you in the morning as they're like getting their boots off or whatever, it may have absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with what's going on inside of them at that particular moment because of something that happened before. And so can you take a step back and be like, okay, I was fed this morning. My parents told me they love me as I walked out the door, like, and I've got warm clothes on to go to school. It's been like -30 here. And then on the other side, maybe that other person who accidentally bumped you, or maybe even bumped you on purpose because they're just angry, coming into school, did they have those things coming into the building? And if they didn't, maybe you can step back and have some empathy for them. Because if you show up in that empathetic space, then you can take a step back and be like, okay, I get it, right? But if you show up in that angry space too, then you're going to have a conflict and you're going to butt heads, and it's just going to escalate from there. And so I always try to think about that and to try to show up and to recognize too, when somebody doesn't show up in like the most kind way, it probably has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Like he even had a situation just in the Costco parking lot on the weekend where I was like, got into my car and I had a car, like somebody rear-ended me. So I'm driving a rental car and I quickly text my daughter I was on my way, and then I started the car and I tried to back up, but somebody was standing there on their phone like this. And so I like waited for a few minutes and then I like tried to back up like just a little bit again, like hoping they would notice, and they didn't notice. And then I tried to back up just a little bit more and they didn't notice. And then I was like, oh, I give up. So I just like sat there for a minute and I was like, maybe he'll move. And then there was another person like trying to come into my spot, waiting for this guy that's just randomly standing there to move. And so I like was like, he honked at the person and I was like, so I like opened the door and I was like, can you please move? Like I'm trying to back up. There's somebody behind me. And then the guy started yelling at me and I was like, and I just was like, he's like, you must have been just sitting in your car. And I was like, I really wasn't. But I was just like, sorry, can you just move? Because somebody's trying to get in. And I just like, this has nothing to do with me. Clearly, this person is having a problem. And I'm just going to like send them love and let it go and not let it upset me. But because I'm such a sensitive person, it threw me a little bit because I said, please, I said like, can you please move? I'm trying to move for this person who's trying to get in, and they just started yelling at me. And I was like, but it's that showing up piece. I could have started yelling back and getting into a conflict with them, right? Or I could just get back in the car and be kind. And so that's kind of what I chose to do. And not every situation can I show up like that, because sometimes I'm just so frustrated too. And even when I am frustrated, I try to show up kindly, as to be like, these are my frustrations, especially with dealing with the insurance company for the getting rear-ended. They've been so disorganized. And I'm like, this is why I'm frustrated. Can you please like respond? Or give me somebody who will respond, or like tell me what it is that I haven't done properly to get reimbursed for the massages that I've had to go to for my, like all of these things. And it's so like frustrating, but I'm trying to show up being like, I'm telling you this so you can improve as well. Because I'm a kind like person, and if I'm this frustrated with this company, then like there's probably people who are gonna like lose their mind on you. So I always just try to think like, how can I show up as kind as possible even when I am frustrated? And sometimes that's a really hard thing to do.
It can be really hard to show up not being frustrated, Amanda, but what I I've done in my life is to choose my drama, to get rid of drama in my life, and how I respond to every situation. I like Nick's energy, where you actually made a decision to make changes in your life. And so I'm going to say, hi, LinkedIn family. Thank you for watching us. If you want to get involved, please do get involved to the conversation. And YouTube family and Facebook family, Twitter family, please do get involved if you want to get involved, and tell us how you show up in your own life. So back to Nick as conversation and Amanda and Grant. I like how Nick made a decision how he is going to show up, and he knew that he has worked all his life, this job that he trained, he had the security, he had a big house, financial secure, but you know what? He made a decision that, you know what, this job is good, is making me money, but it's not serving me anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a decision, even though I don't know what the future holds, because sometimes we need that uncertainty, that we want reassurance, what tomorrow is going to be, what the next month is going to be. But that moment he had to let go of control and just go for what you wanted. And the energy, people can feel the energy as well. Just go for what you want and become the person that you want, and you didn't worry about the future. And I love that. You and I get along, you get along so well, because that is the kind of a person that I am. I just close my eyes when I'm making a decision, and I'm like, God, I don't know what the future holds, but right now I'm just making this decision, and I'm just going to go for it. And Amanda getting frustrated in the car park. I was in the office yesterday. Your story is similar to what I've witnessed yesterday. So I'm seeing this guy. He's so angry. He is so angry. He's fighting, but the other guy is not responding. He's just sitting there, because he's in charge of them. He's just sitting there. He's not responding, and he walks off. He's angry. He's like, I'm sick and tired of this. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Is one person is fine. So then he walks off, and then he comes back again. He goes, I'm just going to be professional now, and I'm going to do this. He tells him what he's going to do. And then he goes off, and he goes on and on and on and on. But the other guy is just sitting there. He's not responding to any of his actions. So then it made me realize, actually, sometimes, because this guy that they're telling him off, he's a very, very nice guy. And I was like, sometimes you don't know what you have in life until you lose that, because this person is... I've known him for a year now. I just talk to him. I don't know, maybe it's because I just get along with people. I try to not to look at my own opinion when it comes to people, just to love people and just to accept people for who they are. But he's a very nice and kind man who do anything for anyone. So I was like, this guy, like Amanda, you were saying, the action that sometimes when somebody is angry, they're not angry with you. They're angry with whatever they are going through. So I was like, I'm sure that is going through something. And I said in my heart, whatever is going through, I hope he does fix it, because we do have that. We do need that space where when things are not going well, we just have to find a way to fix it instead of putting on other people. So I went into a similar situation as somebody reported me to social services 2 weeks ago, because I made a comment about God. I keep getting social services about God when I have a conversation about God. So this woman comes to me, how I respond, and she's telling me that the school have reported this, and then she was talking, and then my pastor goes, me and my pastor interrogate, and I was like, you do know that you are interrogating me for speaking the truth and speaking who I am. If I can't talk about God to people, what relationship do I have with people? But you do know that God is existing. You are my pastor. So why are you telling me off? So I'm like laughing, and I'm looking at him, I'm laughing. And then he goes on. And then the following week he's talking about, he's preaching. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take some time off and not go to church. So I decided I'm not gonna go to church. By the social services, when the woman she kept talking to me, I said to her, listen, you do know that this is my religion and this is my beliefs that you're actually interrogating me with. So I'm not allowed to talk about God, because if I say God exists, then that means I'm not normal. So I said to her, whatever you think of me, these are my beliefs. She was trying to make me wrong. So in the end, she realized I was not going to back down. And I said to her, I'm not backing down. My beliefs are my beliefs. So I said to her, and then she calls me the following day and she goes, your daughter, she's doing, we need to contact your eldest daughter. And I was like, you are having a laugh now. So I said to her, listen, my daughter is doing exams. So you're not going to ring the school, because my daughter, when she's doing GCSE, you're not going to destroy my daughter's future. So how I was showing up, I've learned to show up to people like when somebody is judging me, and I've learned to actually, instead of me going into a defensive place, I go to a judge's space. Like, I'll put you in the courtroom and I'm going to judge you, like to say, listen, this is how I see the story about myself. So how you see my story is none of my business. So I came to a place where she was like, I don't see why I should continue with this, Nomsa. I think we're going to have to leave it now for now. I was like, why do you keep questioning me? If I was to ask somebody who believes in God that you read the scriptures, so I'm not allowed to talk about things in the Bible. So I have to try to fit in with somebody else. So how I show up, like I like Nick, when you show up in your own life as authentic with people as possible, and not worrying about the drama, not worrying about other people. And in that moment, I had to explain to say, listen, I'm allowed to talk about God. I'm allowed to talk about whatever. If I have a vision, I'm allowed to talk about it. But how somebody respond to that situation, and I was like, that's none of my business. So I had to explain to her, I was like, we've been to the pandemic now. And in that pandemic, you guys interrogated me before when I told somebody that actually I had a vision about the pandemic, and somebody, like, people were like dying and things like that. And somebody went in, and I was like, but we passed the pandemic, haven't we? And she was like, yeah. So I was like, can you look? It's the same story. We passed the pandemic. Now we are in the same situation. So I had to say, listen, if I have a gift, or if I'm living my life, you just need to leave me alone for me to be authentic. So back to the topic, how do we show up in life? You have to be as authentic as possible. When you are going through something, you have to actually deal with whatever you are dealing, instead of when you are dealing with something and take it to somebody else, like, and make a decision, also make a decision based on the journey where you need to be, not the society, or not what you are expected to be. Like a Grant, you travel around the world with your business. And if I come with my character and my beliefs, and trying to take those beliefs of you working as a mentor, as a coach, traveling, enjoying your life, and trying to take that away. So that I could do it, but does it mean you have to actually follow my, no, you don't. So it's important for the audience to actually be as authentic as possible, and just live the life that you believe is the truth about yourself. Over to you, Nick.
Yeah, so I had kind of a realization here, and so for me, so consciously choosing how I show up in my day-to-day has been something very recent that I've just figured out. But subconsciously, I've definitely been aware of it and been doing it well, my entire life, as we all have as energetic beings. But so for me, I was just thinking of an example. So when I was in the police service, I was raising police dogs for a number of years. So that was a thing that I wanted to do with my career, was be a dog handler. And so as part of that, you have to raise pups. So you get the pup at 8 weeks old, and it lives with you, and you imprint it, it's called, until it goes into training at about 1.5 years. So I had 3 different dogs for little around a year each. And so first thing they teach you in dog training is that your energy matters. So it's something I just thought of. So okay, I'm gonna make a fool of myself here, but so what they say is, when you're praising a dog, you should be embarrassed about like how you're acting and how you're talking, because the dogs pick up on that energy. So I'll give you an example here. So think about this. So I'm trying to tell you to do something. It's like, Amanda, could you please go over there and get that ball for me, please? Or, so that's like just flat and nothing, right? There's no energy there. Whereas when you're praising a dog specifically, it should be something like, had a good guy. Oh, you did it. Had a good guy. Oh yeah, you wouldn't got that ball. Like something like that. And like, so you're all smiling, and it's like, you can immediately pick up that energy, right? And dogs pick up on that immediately. And so it's kind of a silly example of this, but it's like, it's energy. And it's how I'm using my voice and how I'm showing up, and the way my eyes are more open, and all of the things, right? And so it's kind of just something that came to me. So a little silly, but an example. And then for me, I was also thinking about in my career in policing, I did some pretty interesting things, and it was all voluntary on my own accord. So I did the police dog training. I worked on the street, obviously, in 2 different police services. I worked in a drug unit with one police service as a small drug unit. And then I worked in the large police service in another drug unit, and I was undercover for a number of years in the drug world. I worked in gang suppression, so dealing with the worst gang members that the large city I was living in has in it. And so I did all these things for 17 years, and I was never physically harmed. No one ever hit me, spit on me, kicked me, nothing. I never had to use any use of force tool. I never had to use my baton, pepper spray, taser, firearm, obviously, none of it. I never had to use any of it. And the only explanation I can come up with is energy, the way I showed up. Because I was never looking for a fight. I just wasn't. I was there to do a job, to whatever it was, in most cases arrest the person. But the last thing I wanted to do was to fight them. And so that's how I'm showing up. And so like your example, Amanda, like if I would have, in your situation, gotten out of the car or started yelling back at this guy, like for sure, we could have been in a physical fist fight in that parking lot. Absolutely. And that would happen every day. If those 2 energies meet each other, it results in this, right? Whereas, obviously your energy is not that way, and neither is mine. And so we drive away from that without a fight. And it was the same for me in my career. And it's pretty wild to me to think about like all the situations I've been in, like hundreds, if not thousands of people, no, definitely thousands of people that I've arrested, and to never have been in a fight. And it's all about how I showed up and my energy. And so it's a real thing. And we can all think of an example, and we all know these situations where, let's say you're in a restaurant and it's a busy restaurant full, lots of people, you're just having your dinner with whoever you're with, and all of a sudden you can just feel there's something amiss across the restaurant. And generally it's a raised voice or whatever, but you look and but before you just feel it, right? And let's say there's 2 people kind of like arguing at a table, or someone arguing with the a waitress or a waiter or whatever the situation is, like the whole restaurant can immediately feel that, and it just shifts the energy of that whole place. And it's just like, it's a real thing. That energy. And then on the positive side, getting back to our topic, is when it's a positive energy and when it's someone that's really in a good place and is acting authentically and all of those things, that is again something that people pick up on immediately and then mirror that back to you. And it, for me in my life, it's turned into just amazing situation that presents itself, drops itself in my lap after one after another right now. And it's incredible. And the common denominator is me, right? Like how I'm showing up and where I'm at in my own headspace right now. So it's really interesting. But this topic is really near and dear to me because it's something that I'm living right now.
You know, Nick, it's a great thing. And I wonder if anybody out there on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube can resonate with this at all. And Nick's talking about, energy. So think of a time perhaps when your energy was just right, when your energy was just right, when you went out with the right energy that day or that night. And guess what? You met people with the same energy, because we are all frequencies. There's something I'd like you to watch on YouTube. Actually, if you look at metronome synchronization, I think it's called. There's a video of a bunch of metronomes. You know, the things that count music, metronomes, and there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all at different times, right? And after a while, they all start to sync together. Energy. If you get a piano showroom of pianos and you go to the middle C, and hit the middle C on one piano, the rest will all resonate. We are the same. So whatever we put out, we get back. If you've ever gone out, and we've all done it, let's be honest, in a bad mood that day, you get a bad mood. You meet it. I was speaking at a conference in Las Vegas. I speak at each year. This was a couple of years ago. And I was going from my hotel to the hotel where the conference was at. Got a cab driver who was in a really bad mood. You're waiting in the wrong place, he said. I said, no, this is actually the Uber pickup. No, I normally pick people up from there. I said, it says Uber pickup. And I asked the staff and they said, there. No, I said, but anyway, doesn't matter. You picked me up and I'm really glad you picked me up. He went round the corner, he's going a little bit too fast, cuts out and someone beeps him and he gives them a finger. And here we go, the whole pattern's going on. Then he gets along, damn, the lights have changed, and he's stopping. And I said, you know what? I said, isn't it funny? Yeah, some days things just don't go right. I said, and I get this, back home in England, just when you're in the biggest hurry, you seem to get all the red lights. I said, and every instinct will tell you to speed up. Strange enough, I found out when you just slow down, you get out of sequence of those red lights and they all start to become green. And I said, I just want to say how much I really appreciate you picking me up. And you've not had the best of days, but I really hope that, I said, whenever I get this, I always try to put in a really good mood. And when I do, I tend to find that what I put out comes back. And I said, you've really got great energy. Yeah, terrible energy. But I said, but you've got really great energy. And it's so nice that when you can just smile despite having a bad day, how it turns things around. And you can just see he sort of went quiet. And he's thinking like, what the hell? What? And you can see him thinking, and he didn't say a word. But he slowed down. He was much nicer. And I said, listen, thanks a lot. I said, I'm going to give you a tip. And I really hope you get many more tips and a great rest of the day. I said, love your energy, man. Take care. Be good. And you can see him processing, going like, yeah, there might be something in that. And it was my little way of just trying to leave people in better condition than I found them. And as a result, I got a better journey out of him anyway. Yeah, it was a less stressful journey. I had a big day ahead and he allowed me to get there in better condition. So from a selfish point of view, it served me, but it also left him in better condition. And hopefully he had a better attitude with his other fares that day. And they gave him more tips and he went home and thought, you know what, maybe this is the secret. So that was my way of doing it. So out there, if you're listening in, let's say YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc., LinkedIn, think about yourself. Have you ever gone out in a bad mood that day and you've met other people with a bad mood? Because we are all frequency, we align. And think of a time where you've gone out with a really good mood, and guess what? Everybody else starts to have a good mood. And I bet you can find examples of both, which leads me to think that really it's our choice. Even when we go out that day, if we can just put a good mood on, sometimes you get days when things just aren't going right. Just be positive about it and things start to change. I think the other thing is, it's a little bit like if you've ever been the crazy person on the bus or train who starts talking to people. I did this as an experiment once when everyone's sitting there. I mean, we're in England, right? Yeah, people kind of pretty much like that. They're just sitting there. And I thought, let's just try to be the crazy person who talks to people. Like, oh, what do you think about the weather today? And da, da, da. And some people look at you like crazy guy and look down, right? But keep an eye on those people, right? And then someone else will go, yeah, I know it's terrible. And they'll start talking. Someone else will look at them and after I'll just go, and they'll just do that. And a little while later, they'll chip in with the conversation. And the ones who thought you was a complete lunatic will often start nodding and getting involved a little bit later, which proves to me that most people want to have a conversation. Most people want to be spoken with, not spoken at, but spoken with. Most people want to be engaged with at some level, maybe not at a level 10, but they want some sort of engagement, but they don't dare to do it because culture and society has told us don't do that. So it needs a leader to give them permission to do it. So quite often, do you think you may be intruding on people? Quite often not. They're just waiting for someone to do it. And if you just do it, again, you can leave people in better condition than you found them. And I think if you just take permission, give yourself permission to be that slightly crazy person who just starts a conversation. And it can be about something that just happens like, oh, wow, did you see that car just cut across there? They'll say, no, what happened? And it will start a little conversation. And it's a great thing. One Christmas, I was on a train coming back from central London, coming home. And I was on a train. And it was a great thing that people did because they regressed us to childhood. They had obviously been to a family like a company party, and they brought a bag of like retro sweets, retro candy, the kind of stuff you don't get now, but you could get when you was kids. That stuff. They had a bag of that, and everyone's sitting there kind of like that. And I said, "Hey, what do you want? What do you want?" And they're calling out the names of these sweets, and people, are, come on, what do you want? Which one? Which ones do you like? This one, I like that. Hey, I'll catch. Just like threw it, like, and of course you're forced to sort of catch the thing. And then that brings back all those childhood memories. You're like, oh, wow, this is great. This is really, and someone's got that one there. And I'm like, what did you get? And they go, oh, what have you got? I had that. Suddenly, the silent carriage was erupted into like a school trip. We're all having fun, laughing and joking. Thanks a lot. Merry Christmas. All they did was said, hey, what do you like? And we was all sitting there quiet, but they gave us permission to be like children again by bringing back these retro sweets. Right? Don't get me into how much sugar they had in them. God knows, probably way too much. But you know, it was just a little bit of fun, and it brought the whole carriage of people together. What a little! I think they did it accidentally, but when you can regress people to childhood, most of us had a relatively good time when we were children, and there's a lot of fun in that. So I wonder, what questions could you ask people? And just say, oh boy, I remember when I used to get on a bus when I was a kid. When I got on the train when I was a kid, and people would just go, oh yeah, I did that too. Yeah, I didn't live here then, I lived there, but it was da-da-da. And it's funny how it can bring people together, and it's just positive energy. You haven't done much. You just posed a question, or you just said something, and it only takes one person to have a conversation, and others will join in. Others will join in, or they'll stand up, they'll say nothing the whole journey, and as they go to get off, they'll say, yeah, you know what? You really took my mind back to when I was a kid. Great stuff. Have a nice evening. You know, and it's just brightened up their day. They may have been going home to their wife and kids in a bad mood, and now they're going to go back in a slightly lighter mood, which is going to have an impact on those kids at school, the wife, etc., etc. And it is, as Nick said quite rightly, it's just your energy. So the question is, where could you think of some good energy? Where could you have a creative exercise and just go out and do that in the next? Don't think about it. Do it. Just do it. You haven't got to be crazy. Just settle and do it and just lift the mood, and you'll see how it can have a great impact. I just thought of that, and I just thought I wanted to share it.
I love that idea because it aligns with what I was thinking about, which is how can you shift your energy when you're stuck? And one of the things that I always use for myself is a little bit of humor. It's like to laugh at my own frustrations and to just be like, oh, and also then to think about what is it that I can be grateful for in this moment, and that tends to shift the energy as well. But I know that humor, when you can laugh at yourself and laugh at the things that you're frustrated at. Like yesterday we went on a field trip with 75 children in -30 on a bus in traffic. And I just like, you just have to laugh. You just have to be like, well, this is what it is. We're short volunteers. We had to get I was like, glad we had student teachers in the building, so we had enough people that we could go on the field trip. And then traffic was horrible, and I just was like, whatever, the kids are gonna have fun once they get there. And just you just have to laugh about those things that come up. And so I just was laughing at the fact that we walked in the morning. I checked my email before I went to work, and then I was like, whoa, I don't have enough volunteers. I guess we'll figure it out when we get there. And then I got there, and then the other teacher didn't have enough volunteers. And I was like, and then the buses were late, and I just was like, it is what it is. We'll figure it out. And the kids had the best day, and they had so much fun once we got there. But the other teacher was getting kind of frustrated, and one of the other teachers was sick too. So it's substitute teacher, not enough volunteers, all of these things. And I just it'll work out.
And you resolve it, right? You find a solution. And this was one of the most pivotal things I ever learned from all the personal development trainings and seminars I've ever been to. The first one I was at, I did 3 days, and I took 4 days, and I brought away tons of notes, but a couple of things that really stood out. And one was this sentence, which I often say to myself, and people say, oh, it's a big problem. And I ask myself, will this be a problem in 5 years from now? Mm-hmm. And if not, it's not really a problem, is it? It's a minor inconvenience. Let's adjust our language a little bit. It's a minor inconvenience. And the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was saying, oh, you travel quite a lot, blah, 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 blah. You traveled on this airline, and I hate that airline. And wow, why do they put so many people on a plane? And I said, why it takes people so long to put their luggage and sit down? Honestly, I don't understand. And we was having a rant around it. And I just laughed. I said, but come on. It's not really a problem, is it? It's an absolute pleasure. I'm incredibly grateful. Yeah, I do wish people would just put their luggage and sit down, but in the realm of things, it's an absolute honor and a privilege and a pleasure. And I'm incredibly grateful. It's a nice, if that's all we've got to moan about, that's the kind of moans I want to have, because it's nothing at all. It's an absolute pleasure. And I was just laughing, which reminds me, the last flight I was on, they had these, you had the pouch in front of the seat where you got the security stuff and the brochures. Well, I put my phone there, right? Only to find out that in their infinite wisdom, they put a net there which has no sides. So the phone probably fell outside and slid back. So I lost my phone for the whole flight. Kind of went like this a little bit. It wasn't there. And I spoke to people. Is my phone falling by your thing? As we got up, 3 people behind, a guy and 2 girls were together. And I said, I'm really sorry, guys. Now your seatbelt. Could I just ask you to have a quick look at my phone? And they looked, and they just stood up and said, guys, this guy here has lost his phone. Before you move, can you please all look under your seats? This was not the staff. This was the passenger. Can you all have a look at your seats? It's really important. They said, I'd lose my head if I lost my phone. This guy is really calm. Could you please just take a moment to really have a good look for his phone? It had been so much. And I'm like, thank you so much. That's really nice of you to do that. And he said, what's your number, dude? And I'll call you. And I gave him my number, and he phoned it. Someone could hear it. Oh, hang on, it's here next to my bag. And they found it. and all was good. And I said, thank you so much. And I went out and I was waiting for the taxi. And I just got a coffee, just reflecting. I thought, that was so nice. So nice. And I just texted him back because he'd given me a missed call, right? And I texted him back. I said, hey, listen, just want to say thank you so much because you went above and beyond to help. Your energy was absolutely fantastic. And I really appreciate that. You know, Grant Burrell, and, you know, the art of extracting latent potential. And I just put that. And he came back. He said, oh man, it's nothing at all. He said, I'm really glad you found it. I would have lost my head if I lost my phone. And he said his name and his job. And he was customer service relation manager for a really great restaurant. And I was like, I went back, customer service for it. Now it all makes sense. I said, you've got natural talent for that. Thank you once again. You was an absolute superstar, you know. And guess what? I'm going to go to that restaurant because clearly the customer service is going to be outstanding. And he left me with a fantastic impression. And he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do it, but he took it upon himself to have great energy to help someone else, which would have had no impact on his life. Well, seemingly at that point, no impact if he did or didn't. But great people in a great job, doing the right thing, making people happy. And it certainly cheered me up an awful lot. I've got my phone back. So that was great. I just wanted to share that little story. So again, just think, when can we do that? Because we can just say, nah, sorry, it's not here. Or we can just say, hang on, just give me 30 seconds and just have a look and just ask other people, you know? When can you do, when someone asks you a favor, do you know this? You're like, no. But stop to think, who might I know who may know the answer? I don't know, but let me just text a couple of people who may know. Could provide a great solution for someone, could help them, and they're certainly going to think well of you. So if you ever need a favor in the future, they're certainly going to bend over backwards to help you because you've done that for them. Just think when we can do that for somebody else. Just wanted to add that to the equation. Nick, Amanda, Nomsa, what's your thoughts?
I think for everything that we've just mentioned, having gratitude, it does help when it comes to life. And with whatever is like, when you shift your energy coming into a place of authenticity, it does help, because sometimes, you know, like what I've realized, like coming from Africa and living in the United Kingdom, I realize that we are so spoiled with so many options when it comes to life, but we don't see the beauty of life. We see things that have gone wrong or things that are going wrong when it comes to life. And when we show up and things don't go how we want it, and we just forget about that, the glory that we have had in life, and we just switch and like lose tempo if you're driving and the traffic is not moving. Instead of actually sitting back, relax, and get in the moment, and maybe think about things that you wouldn't think of, and say, okay, I'm going to the office now. I'm stuck in traffic. I can't do anything about it, but I'm just going to go into this space where I'm just connecting with myself. But instead, he's getting angry, like Martin was driving the other day, and he gets angry with the driver, and I'm like, hey, chill out. So I'm like, you do realize that driver cannot actually see you. And then he goes, I was like, chill out. I was like, chill out. And Kayla is just, my daughter is just looking at him. He's like, oh, he's just get upset because he's driving and the guy is just coming in front of him and he's not moving. And I was like, just chill, just relax. And it's just looking at me, it's like, oh, okay then. And sometimes it's really nice to show up in a way that you recognize who you are as a person. And when things are not, when you go out of line, and just bring yourself back. What I do is myself, I meditate a lot. And meditation, it does help me to actually connect within myself. And when things are not going my way, there's one thing that I do when things are not going my way. I sit there and chill out. And just be in the present moment and say, you know what, God, right now things are not going how I want, but my way is not working. What is your way? Will your way work? Or just try to find a solution. If I do find a solution, then what will be, will be. But sometimes we just forget about the glory of the gratitude. You know, when you have gratitude in life, it's like we are here at Nkosi Talk Shows, we are serving our audience. If anything happens, maybe with Grant, or maybe Grant goes like, you know what, start going in that way, and we forget about what Grant has done for the audience, and the audience just maybe start judging, and we coaches start judging. So the reason why I'm sharing this is, you know what, as a human being, we have to know how to connect ourselves, because we know, if you know your purpose and you know where you need to be, it does not matter if you come across like Amanda. She's a very sensitive person. If I meet her, I wouldn't even have the guts to argue. There are some people, when you meet them, you are like, you can't argue with them. You are like, so having that awareness of the being in the present moment, it just it does help. I came out of the office today and I'm halfway, and I'm see this guy, the office is closing at 12. And then seeing this guy is standing there, he's looking at the time and is like, not liking the office being closed. And I was like, the office is closed this side, but we are not actually closed. You can come this side, I will help you. So I was like, come this side, and it's like, "Aye, you're going home?" I was like, "Yes, I'm going home, but I can help you." I was like, there are people the other side, they can help you. So I'm bringing him here. And they kept saying, "You're very kind." I was like, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. And it shows that when you come in a loving place and show up how you want to show up, not everyone that loses the temper, they're not nice. There are some people, they're really nice, but they don't know how to have patience. Granted, you are a hypnotherapist. You know how our feelings and our emotions, how it's all connected. So once you have to recognize the triggers, like Nick, Amanda, you guys, you are a mindful coach, Amanda, and Nick is as a police officer, being in the police industry for a very, very long time. And you said you never ever have to use your weapon, because sometimes when you approach people, there are some people that when they approach people with an attitude of, I'm a police officer and I'm in charge right now. But when you come in a loving place, people will listen. You wouldn't have to use any weapon. Somebody will listen to you because you are actually coming in a loving place and you just want to help. So it shows that sometimes how we show up is how we are able to actually find that courage to fulfill our purpose or to fulfill our dreams. And I used to get angry when things don't go my way 10 years ago. Never used to get angry. Actually, I used to freeze. Do you know what I mean? Like when things don't go your way, you're like freezing, you shock, you don't know what to do. But now when things don't go my way, I just smile. And I'm like, it's one of those days. Or if I actually meet somebody who is upset, I look at them and I wait for them to scream and shout when they're finished. I just go to a place just trying to find out how I can save them as a person. And I think that's the gratitude for me. I say it does help. Before we leave, Amanda, could you please tell our audience who you are and where they can find you, and Nick as well, and then after Nick and then Grant, and then it will be good to go.
All right. My name is Amanda Cottrell. I am a teacher and an author, and you can find me at my website, Art, Mindfulness, and Creativity, or on Instagram and everything, and just Art, Mindfulness, and Creativity. Also, I just have a challenge for everybody today is to think about how you want to show up. what do you want to put out to the world? And no matter what happens to you today, try to live from that intentional place of what you want to put out and just see what happens. And I bet you something similar to what has happened to Nick will happen to you.
Yeah, I love that. I have a quote above my desk here, and it says, "Does this support the life I'm trying to create?" So in that challenge that Amanda just gave you, is to ask yourself that, is honking at the guy in front of you, is that supporting the life you're trying to create or not? Just ask yourself that question. So my name is Nick, and I have started a fashion apparel brand here in Canada. I'm not in the coaching space, but if you're interested in reaching out, I'm always interested to chat. So my website's on the beside my name, and all the social media channels, it's Flow State Designs. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grant Morell, and it just prompted me just now that Noms was talking about when you sometimes freeze. It's because of this. That's why I put my camera off just now to go and get this. You have a thing in your brain called your amygdala. And every many times a second, it goes into either fight, flight, or freeze. So if you are the person who honks your horn, you are the person who goes into fight. Some people just say, "I can't stand this," and you run away. You go into flight, or you just go and you freeze. And we all are one of these people. And this goes off many, many times a second. Your fight, and it opens and it closes, opens and it closes. It's often said that PTSD is when it happens and it doesn't go quite all the way back. It goes to there, and then the next time it's there, and then it stays open. And PTSD often isn't down to one thing, it's down to a whole range of things that happen. It's an accumulative effect. So that when somebody actually does act bad to you, it's something in the world of hypnotherapy we call emotional stacking. So many things have happened many times, and when you just suddenly go in your kitchen, you put your knife down, and your husband or wife says, "Don't put that knife there, it drives me mad, you always do it." And you think, what have I done? I've just like nothing. What the hell? It's not really about the knife. It's a small little thing. It's maybe many people have done things to wind them up, and you just done that one thing, and it was the expression, the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's emotional stacking. So when we go out and we see people, we see them in a workplace, etc., we only see the veneer. It's like that iceberg thing, isn't it? You just see the tip of the iceberg. You don't see everything else underneath that's happening in their life, their business, their career. The son's been bad at school or something like this, or someone bumped their car in the car lot that day. We don't see all that stuff, and we just see them. But look at the cues for people. Try and take a look and see if people are slightly distracted. If something's wrong, you could say to them, "Are you okay? You don't see your usual self today." And maybe it will release them, and afterwards they'll just say, "Thank you for asking. I've just not had the greatest day. Is there anything I can do? I'm here to help you." And just their offer can quite often just be the thing that lets the pressure off of that person. So just be looking for people, look for the cues. We often go about in life thinking what we need to get out of that meeting, out of that conversation, out of that day. But of course, the best way to get the best out of that conversation is to make sure that they're in the best condition. Rather like me with that taxi driver in Las Vegas, who was really having a bad day and screwing up my journey quite badly. Just by taking a little bit of time out of my life to try to help him, allow him to be better, and therefore make my journey better. So just think how you can help others to help you. My name's Grant Morell. I'm an international speaker, coach, trainer, and an international best-selling author. And over the last 20 years now, myself and an international team have helped thousands of entrepreneurs, business owners, and organizations to increase profits by up to 200%, often in just a few short months, by working with their team, their systems, their mindset, and their strategy, so that they can live a life of passion, purpose, and freedom, and develop a business and a lifestyle that can become a legacy for generations to come. That's me. Who's
Thank
next?
you, Grant. Thanks. I am muted. Am I muted? No. Thank you, Grant. Thanks, Nick. And thank you, Amanda. And thank you to our audience who are watching, YouTube family, LinkedIn family, and Facebook family, Twitter family. We are not on Instagram yet. We've been before, but we came out. So thank you so much, guys. And for you guys, you know who Nomsa is. I am your love harmonist. All I do is I harmonize love. And if you're stuck in life and you're looking to find that breakthrough, create your own framework with the coaches. We have all the coaches that you love to connect with, and please do connect with them. And they've been there. That's what Ngozi the Talk Show is about, to help you find your own voice and lead from within. I didn't have a voice before. I do have a voice, normal voice. I sing, I can do anything, but I couldn't actually communicate my want, my desires. I didn't have a voice to actually do the things that I want to do in life. I did some of the things, but that wasn't enough. When you find your own voice, you be your own leader in your own life. So that's what we do at Ngozi the Talk Shows. And please get in touch with these guys or follow all these coaches on social media, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. If you're watching us at Ngozi Talk Shows page on Facebook, please do give us some stars. Nomsa, Grant, and Amanda would love to have some stars from you guys so we can reach more people in our community. And live with grace, everyone. We are here Monday to Friday, UK time, 1 p.m. So we are here every day, and just come and hang out with us. And if you're somebody who is stuck and you really don't know what to do, just pick up a phone call. You can go to my website and just give me a call. I'll connect you with these guys, or we have a chat, and take it from there. God bless. Live with grace.
Take care.